Imagine this, a packed courtroom, the air thick with tension. A high-profile murder trial is reaching its climax. For weeks, the prosecution and defense have battled, presenting evidence, cross-examining witnesses, and delivering passionate closing arguments. The accused, a man named Steven Truscott, is just a boy, 14 years old, and his life hangs in the balance. The jury has delivered a guilty verdict, a decision that shocks many. Now, all that remains is the sentence to be handed down by the presiding judge, Justice Ferguson. But on the day of the sentencing, something unprecedented happens. The judge is gone. He vanishes without a trace, leaving behind a case that would become one of the most controversial in legal history. This isn't a plot from a legal thriller novel. This is a true story. And today we are going to unravel the bizarre and unsettling case of the judge who disappeared right before sealing a young boy's fate, and how this disappearance cast a long dark shadow over the very idea of justice. Let's rewind to June 1959 in a small town in Ontario, Canada. 12-year-old Lynne Harper goes missing. A massive search ensues, and 2 days later, her body is found in a nearby woodlot. The community is horrified. The police are under immense pressure to find the killer. Their attention quickly turns to 14-year-old Steven Truscott, one of the last people seen with Lynne. Based on circumstantial evidence and a series of questionable assumptions by investigators, Steven is arrested and charged with murder. The trial that followed was a whirlwind. It lasted only 15 days. The prosecution painted Steven as a predator, twisting the timeline of events to fit their narrative. The defense, overwhelmed and under-resourced, struggled to poke holes in the flimsy case. The key piece of evidence was the time of death. The medical examiner initially estimated it, but later, under pressure, he changed his testimony to perfectly match the prosecution's theory, pinning Steven to the crime. Despite inconsistencies and a lack of any physical evidence connecting him to the murder, the jury found Steven Truscott guilty. The mandatory sentence for murder was death by hanging. A 14-year-old boy was sentenced to die. This is where our story takes its strangest turn. The man tasked with formally delivering this death sentence was Justice Robert Ferguson. He was a respected, no-nonsense judge. But in the days between the verdict and the scheduled sentencing, something was clearly wrong. Court clerks and lawyers who saw him described him as deeply troubled, pale, and agitated. He was reportedly heard muttering to himself, "I've made a terrible mistake." He seemed haunted by the verdict, by the weight of sending a child to the gallows based on such shaky ground. Then, on the morning he was supposed to sentence Steven Truscott, Justice Ferguson was nowhere to be found. His robes were left in his chambers. His car was in its usual spot, but the judge himself had vanished. Panic set in. Was he abducted? Did he run away? A different judge had to be hastily brought in to read the formal death sentence. Steven Truscott, the condemned teenager, was led away, likely unaware that the judge who was supposed to seal his fate had just disappeared. The disappearance of Justice Ferguson became a national mystery, layered on top of an already contentious murder case. A manhunt was launched, but it turned up nothing. It was as if he had evaporated into thin air. The media was in a frenzy. Theories swirled. Some believed he was kidnapped by someone connected to the case, perhaps someone who believed Truscott was innocent and wanted to disrupt the proceedings. Others whispered that he had a mental breakdown, crushed by the guilt of what he perceived as a monumental injustice. He knew the evidence was weak. He knew the medical testimony had been manipulated. Perhaps the thought of sentencing a boy to death on that basis was more than his conscience could bear. This theory gained traction because of his visible distress leading up to the sentencing. Could a judge, a pillar of the justice system, be so tormented by a potential wrongful conviction that he would abandon his life, his career, everything to escape it? It seemed unbelievable, but the alternative, a random disappearance, felt just as unlikely. For weeks, the search continued, but as time went on, hope faded. The focus shifted back to Steven Truscott, who was now on death row. While the mystery of the missing judge lingered, Steven Truscott's fate took a turn. His death sentence was commuted to life in prison just a few months later. He was, after all, just a child. He spent 10 years behind bars, maintaining his innocence every single day. After his release on parole in 1969, he lived a quiet life under an assumed name, always carrying the stigma of being a convicted killer. But the case never truly went away. Journalists, authors, and innocence advocates kept digging, exposing the flaws in the original investigation and trial. Books were written, documentaries were made, all pointing to one chilling conclusion: Steven Truscott was likely innocent. The timeline didn't work. The evidence was circumstantial at best. The star witness for the prosecution was unreliable. The entire case built against a 14-year-old boy seemed to be a house of cards, built on public pressure and rushed police work. And through it all, the ghost of Justice Ferguson loomed. His disappearance was seen by many as a silent protest, a dramatic, desperate act by a man who saw a miscarriage of justice unfolding before his very eyes and couldn't stop it through conventional means. His vanishing act became a powerful symbol for the Truscott innocence movement. It was the ultimate vote of no confidence in the verdict from the one man, besides the jury, who had seen all the evidence up close. Decades passed. Steven Truscott lived his quiet life, the mystery of Justice Ferguson remained unsolved, and the stain on the Canadian justice system remained. Then, in the early 2000s, the case was officially reopened. New forensic techniques became available. Witnesses, now much older, came forward with new information, some recanting their original testimonies. The whole case was put under a modern microscope. It was a massive undertaking, a chance to finally uncover the truth. The legal battle was immense. Lawyers for Truscott presented a mountain of new evidence, including expert analysis that completely dismantled the prosecution's original timeline of the crime. They argued that the medical examiner's testimony, the very foundation of the case, was scientifically impossible. They demonstrated how police had tunnel vision from the very beginning, ignoring other potential leads and suspects to focus solely on the teenage boy. The fight for justice, which began in a small-town courtroom in 1959, was now playing out on the national stage, forcing an entire country to confront a dark chapter in its history. This was no longer just about Steven Truscott. It was about the integrity of the entire justice system. Finally, in 2007, 48 years after he was first convicted, the Ontario Court of Appeal made a landmark ruling. They declared Steven Truscott as conviction a miscarriage of justice and formally acquitted him of the crime. He was officially a free and innocent man. It was a moment of incredible vindication, but also a somber one. An innocent man had lost his childhood and lived nearly half a century under the shadow of a crime he did not commit. The government issued a formal apology and awarded him millions in compensation, a small price for a stolen life. The court's decision confirmed what many had suspected for decades. The system had failed catastrophically. The police, the prosecution, and the jury had all played a part in wrongfully convicting a child. The acquittal was a triumph for justice, but it also raised uncomfortable questions about how many other wrongful convictions might be out there, buried in the archives of courtrooms. It served as a powerful reminder that guilty until proven innocent can sometimes become a tragic reality. So, whatever happened to Justice Ferguson, the judge who vanished? Well, about 6 months after his disappearance, his body was found. He hadn't been kidnapped. He hadn't run away to start a new life. In a tragic end to the mystery, it was discovered that he had taken his own life. He had driven to a secluded spot, and it was there he ended his torment. His final act seemed to confirm the rumors about his state of mind. He left behind notes expressing deep distress and a feeling of being overwhelmed. While the notes didn't explicitly mention the Truscott case, the timing was undeniable. The man whose job it was to be an impartial arbiter of facts and law was so profoundly affected by the outcome of a trial that he couldn't live with it. His story is a chilling and tragic footnote in the larger saga of Steven Truscott. It serves as a haunting testament to the human cost of the justice system, not just for the accused, but for those who are a part of it. It shows that judges are not unfeeling robots. They are human beings who grapple with the life and death decisions they are forced to make. The case of Steven Truscott and the vanishing judge is a powerful and disturbing true crime story that forces us to look at the justice system with a critical eye. It's a courtroom drama, a murder mystery, and a story of wrongful conviction all rolled into one. It shows how easily the scales of justice can be tipped by public pressure, flawed science, and simple human error. Steven Truscott's long fight for freedom is a story of incredible resilience, while Justice Ferguson's tragic end is a story about the immense moral weight carried by those who mete out justice. This case changed legal procedures in Canada and stands as a permanent warning against rushing to judgment. It reminds us that behind every case file and every headline, there are real human lives at stake, and the pursuit of truth must always be more important than the pursuit of a quick conviction. The law is not always the same as the truth, and fighting for that truth, no matter how long it takes, is a battle worth fighting. Thank you for watching. This case is a complex one with so many layers. What are your thoughts on the responsibility of the justice system in a case like this? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this story as compelling as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating true crime cases. See you next time.